AEW World Champion MJF has reportedly told a WWE talent he can't wait to be in WWE next year. Is this truth? Is this fiction? Is this MJF just being MJF? We've got details on that. Plus, possibly who could be the next challenger for MJF's AEW World Championship after he faces Bryan Danielson tonight at AEW Revolution. Also update on a scrapped AEW faction involving Cody Rhodes and FTR. Sammy Guevara and Tay Mello open up on AEW All Access reality series coming soon. Ruby Soho discusses the AEW Women's World Championship match tonight at AEW Revolution. Speaking of MJF, he's going to appear on Impractical Jokers next week. We've got details on that. Wardlow discusses his new look he has brought to AEW television. Jade Cargill celebrates her second year in being in AEW, her second year anniversary. And Jeff Jarrett refuses to detail what his role is backstage in AEW. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. Happy AEW Revolution Day. Of course, Revolution is tonight live on pay-per-view, and it's going to be headlined by MJF defending the AEW World Championship against Bryan Danielson in a 60-minute Iron Man match, sure to be a classic. But speaking of MJF, of course, that's where we've got to start off today, because MJF is being very MJF right now. Of course, he openly talks about the bidding war of 2024 when his AEW contract expires and he's going to go to the highest bidder, and WWE is very interested, and talking about Paul Levesque and William Regal and Vince McMahon and all that kind of stuff. Well, WWE, according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, is interested when MJF's contract is up. MJF, of course, has been the AEW World Champion since November, working an angle where he often references the notion that his AEW contract is up at the start of 2024, the bidding war of 2024, as he calls it. To make it abundantly clear, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select is reporting they have had absolutely zero confirmation as to the date of MJF's current contract, although an extension that he'd signed early in AEW's life did in fact have it to expire at the start of 2024. Regardless, MJF has told anyone that asked the same thing that he says on AEW television, that his deal is up at the start of next year. Now, this reportedly extends to WWE as well, including one WWE talent outright admitting that MJF said, quote, "I'm looking forward to being there in 2024, end quote, before noting that while MJF wanted them to think he was serious, they take it with a grain of salt. Word of him saying that had made its way to other talent there as well, too. Now, one WWE source that Fightful Select spoke to said that obviously WWE has been and would be interested if and when MJF was available, but that many in the company aren't even sure when his AEW contract is actually up and are operating on assumptions and what he's told to people. Thus far, Sean Ross Sapp hasn't heard from anyone who has actually heard that MJF has extended his contract, though it is assumed by many. To reiterate, before any possible, things get misconstructed, misconstrued, whatever you want to call it, they have had no confirmations regarding the actual expiration date of MJF's contract, if he were to have signed an extension at any point. The reason why there's a lot of guessing going on there is because I think at one point, and this is where the waters get very muddy about this, at one point, MJF's contract was set to expire on January 1st, 2024. That appeared to be factually accurate. However, last year, roughly about a year ago, just under a year ago, MJF, of course, was having problems with AEW, specifically Tony Khan, when it came to his AEW contract. He wasn't happy that his contract was on the lower side when it comes to salary in comparison to other AEW stars. He had signed an AEW contract early on in the company's history, then the money really started to roll in from television and the early success of AEW. Therefore, his pay scale was on the low side in comparison to others. And essentially, he wanted to re-sign, he wanted to renew, but the company, again, was open to that, but they said, well, if you want to renew on a higher salary, you're going to have to stick around. Now, it was reported that MJF had signed a new contract with AEW, but the date upon which his contract was set to expire hadn't changed at all, i.e. he was just on a higher salary, but it was still set to expire at the beginning of 2024. But logically, a lot of people said at the time that doesn't make a lot of sense, because why would AEW give him a higher salary, but not change the length of his contract? It had been previously reported that MJF was open to extending his stay at AEW if he were to receive a higher salary. So some people are suggesting Considering it's MJF, and in the MJF world, you don't really know what's a work and what isn't, there could be a situation where this is an underlying storyline that's being built over time. MJF walks out, MJF does the pipe bomb, MJF comes back, he signs a new deal, but the deal isn't for any longer period of time, it's just for more money. Then he leaves maybe at the beginning of next year as the AEW World Champion, and then we don't see him for a while. Does he appear on WWE television? What happens basically? But there is a feeling amongst some that this is a work, and MJF has signed a new longer-term deal, and his contract doesn't indeed expire at the beginning of 2024, but we'll have to wait and see, certainly, if the bidding war of 2024 even becomes a reality. Now, in the immediate future for MJF, of course, is this AEW World Championship match tonight at Revolution. And the next rivalry for the current AEW World Champion MJF has potentially been revealed ahead of the Revolution pay-per-view. At the March 5th event, MJF will defend his gold against Bryan Danielson in a 60-minute Iron Man match. Danielson is not the only star who wants to clash with MJF, with the champion now earning Adam Cole's attention. Now, speaking on the wrestling podcast, Britt Baker noted that she's rooted for Bryan Danielson to win on Sunday nights, so there won't be 30-minute MJF promos every week. MJF reacted with a message for Baker's partner, Adam Cole, tweeting, quote, "Keep your girl in check, baby." Adam Cole warned MJF not to go there, replying, quote, "You don't want to go down this road, Max. If you want my attention, just ask. But I get it. I'd be acting weird on Twitter too if I knew Bryan was going to whoop my ass for an hour. Good luck Sunday." Now, Baker had a savage reply of her own, referencing MJF's split with his fiancée, saying, quote, "Worry about your own girl, I'll wait, shit," with the heartbreaking emoji. Cole, of course, is currently preparing for his in-ring return. After months on the shelf, recovering from a serious concussion and a torn labrum injury, he's set to return right before AEW All Access debuts later on this month. And we could see a situation, given that Adam Cole is now a babyface, and given that this big new reality show is debuting, that we see Adam Cole versus MJF possibly maybe at Double or Nothing in May. That would make sense, but we'll have to wait and see how Adam Cole's in-ring return does go. But it would appear that maybe, just maybe, MJF's next challenger could already be set, and it be the former leader of the Undisputed Era and Undisputed Elite. Now, this is quite an interesting story. It's always interesting to know what could have been in any pro wrestling company. Now, Dax Howard recently discussed AEW's Pinnacle faction and why he believed the group was DOA. During the early years of AEW, FTR and Cody Rhodes were heavily speculated to form a new Four Horsemen alongside Shawn Spears and other wrestlers. Speaking on his FTR with Dax Howard podcast, Dax detailed the plans for a supergroup with Cody and why it fell through. He said, quote, "I will say though, we did talk to Cody a lot about forming a group with him, and this was before Max came along. We talked to Cody a lot about it. He had Arn, we had Tully, and we wanted to create the supergroup with Cody, and we had some ideas of who could be the other members. I think around that time, Brock Anderson was starting to come up too. So Brock was an idea, and we felt that if Brock were with us, he could stand outside of the ring and watch us. If we had 8-man tags, he would be able to learn, but by standing on the apron, just getting in for a few minutes and tagging back out. Then we could talk to him afterwards and tell him why certain things happened and stuff like that. We really wanted to, and I think Cody really wanted to as well, but I think that Cody was vehemently against being a heel, at least at that time. And again, it's just interesting to think back, isn't it, when it comes to Cody Rhodes, that this guy's main eventing WrestleMania this year against Roman Reigns as the top babyface in the company, and just a year ago, people wanted him to turn heel in AEW. In fact, a year ago, he was already gone from AEW. But in those dying days, even back then, when they were talking about forming a Four Horsemen-like group in AEW, people wanted to see him be a heel, and now he's a top babyface in WWE. It's interesting how the pro wrestling business works, isn't it? Now, speaking of that All Access show, it's a big show. It's a big project for AEW that's coming up in the next month. And AEW recently announced they will launch a reality show called AEW All Access that will focus on the backstage coming and goings of certain AEW wrestlers. Among those featured on the reality show will be AEW power couple Sammy Guevara and Tay Mello, who are no strangers to giving fans a behind-the-scenes look at their personal lives through Guevara's YouTube vlog. While some wrestlers wouldn't be too excited to have the cameras in their faces all the time, Mello revealed in an interview with Elite POV that the couple is thrilled with the opportunity to appear on All Access, though she did admit that the filming was at times a bit tiring, saying, quote, "We're super excited," Mello said. "I feel like when we decided to be a part of it, we were thinking of like, oh, it's a good chance to show people more about our life and about us. And we got super excited. It was literally exhausting to film, let me tell you, traveling and wrestling and everything. and to have them with us, it's super exhausting. Guevara is excited for fans to see him and Melo in a different light, and also teased fans would get to see some of the more dramatic moments Guevara has been rumored to be involved in backstage, saying, quote, "It's super cool because everyone gets to see one side of us on AEW," Guevara said, "and then with this show you get to see a more real side to us, or a side you don't get to see week to week to week to week. It's kind of cool, you get to see behind the scenes all the drama that goes on backstage, because with us, there's always going to be drama." Of course, Sammy Guevara has been involved in a fair share of drama with the likes of Eddie Kingston, Andrade El Idolo. No confirmation if that's going to appear, but I did see in the trailer for the reality series that at least the promo that aired on Rampage with Eddie Kingston that I think didn't end up airing or whatever does get featured in it, so maybe we will get an explanation as to that. As far as the Andrade El Idolo stuff, I don't know if we'll see that, but Guevara and gossip and stories and heat and backstage fights kind of go hand in hand, particularly in the last 12 months, so I'm sure we'll at least see a part of that. Ruby Soho, of course, is competing for the AEW Women's World Championship tonight at AEW Revolution. And ahead of her big match against both Jamie Hayter and Saraya for the AEW World Championship, Ruby Soho has spoken about looking out for herself, as Soho finds herself a bit trapped between the AEW original talents and those who hop ship from WWE to join the crew later. She spoke to Amy Nemeti of WrestleJoy about her very interesting situation. Ruby Soho said, quote, "I have monumental respect for both groups, having known Tony and Saraya for a number of years prior to coming here, and then being able to work alongside the homegrown woman who helped build this company before I even got here. At the end of the day, I have to look out for me. I have to do what is best for myself. It doesn't really matter whose side I stand on. At the end of the day, that's my only goal, to win the title, so I don't necessarily want to pick a side. I want to pick my side, to be perfectly honest." As I mentioned, Soho gets the chance at the AEW Women's World Championship on pay-per-view tonight, live from San Francisco. Whether or not she wins it, anything's certainly possible, and the destination, I guess, is unknown. See what I did there? We spoke about MJF earlier on, and next week he's going to be featured on more Warner Bros. Discovery programming. The stars of True TV's and Practical Jokers, of course, appeared on AEW television last month. James Murray and Brian Q. Quinn appeared on the February 10 episode of AEW Rampage, where they were attacked by the Jericho Appreciation Society. The segment was done to advertise the Impractical Jokers season premiere, which took place the prior night, and a top AEW star is set to appear in the next episode of the show. AEW World Champion MJF is set to appear on the upcoming episode of the show, March 9th at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Impractical Jokers, of course, is part of the Warner Bros. Discovery library, with new episodes of the show airing simultaneously on both True TV and TBS. Singer Kesha will also be appearing on the episode, the previews can be seen all over social media. This was actually quite interesting because I believe, this hasn't been confirmed, but I believe this was actually filmed during MJF's hiatus from AEW. After he cut the pipe bomb promo last year, one of the rare times that MJF was actually seen out in public, because he didn't go out in public. He was completely off the grid for a long period of time there. And one of the rare times he was actually seen out in public was to film Impractical Jokers. So this is actually filmed last year during his hiatus after the pipe bomb in Los Angeles, which again, is just interesting to know the context of these kind of situations. So it was actually filmed prior to making his return to AEW television at All Out. And again, we know what happened at All Out, but certainly interesting to know that. And Wardlow recently has sported a new look on AEW television, and former AEW TNT champion Wardlow made his return to the company last month. Wardlow confronted Samoa Joe on Dynamite after Joe had defeated Darby Allin to capture the TNT championship for the second time in his career. Wardlow previously had his trademark ponytail cut off by Joe during the duo's first match in December, which Wardlow explained he grew out to honor his father, who had cancer. Speaking on Busted Open Radio about his short hair, Wardlow said that he originally intended to grow his hair back out, but fans have complimented his new look, so he intends on keeping it for a while. He said, quote, "Initially, I thought I was going to grow it back, but it might have been a little blessing in disguise because it's been quite the hit with everyone. I'm enjoying it. Everyone else seems to like it. I think I'm going to keep the short hair for a while. Eventually, yes, it will grow out, but for now, I'm going to rock the short hair for a little bit." So if you're a fan of short hair Wardlow, it's going to be sticking around for a while at the least. Now, it's amazing how time flies so quickly, isn't it? Jade Cargill has been in AEW for 2 years. March 3rd marked the 2-year anniversary of AEW star Jade Cargill's professional wrestling debut. And what a 2 years it has been. Jade Cargill has never suffered a defeat and is the first and still the only AEW TBS champion. AEW celebrated Cargill's historic run with the promotion on the AEW on TV Twitter account. Quote, 2 years, 53 wins, and 1 title later, the tweet read, "Happy anniversary, Jade Cargill." Cargill, 30, began appearing in AEW television a few months before her first match, confronting Cody Rhodes on the November 2020 episode of AEW Dynamite. The confrontation ultimately led to Cargill's in-ring debut, in which she and NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal, it feels like a lifetime ago this happened, defeated Rhodes and Red Velvet in a mixed tag team match. Cargill became the inaugural AEW TBS champion when she defeated Ruby Soho in the tournament final on January 5th of last year. Her 422-day reign is the longest of any AEW champion. Cargill's overall record is 53-0, including a 7-0 mark in 2023 with 19 successful title defenses. In some ways, Cargill may have become too dominant for her own good, as she does not have an opponent for AEW Revolution this Sunday. On Rampage last week, Cargill demanded the top women's talent of AEW to step up to face her. In an interesting coincidence, Chris Statlander, who once seemed destined to challenge Cargill, has been backstage at recent AEW events as she continues to rehab from a torn ACL, but it's not known if and when she's going to be back. And at this point, it is kind of difficult. Who faces Jade Cargill at this point? Not many people, it would appear. Finally, Jeff Jarrett, we know he's in a backstage role. He's got a dual role in AEW, one as a talent, one as an executive, if you will. But Jeff Jarrett is refusing to elaborate on the details of his vague new position backstage in AEW. Speaking with French entertainment site Catch News, the longtime pro wrestling star and promoter skirted around a question about what he does behind the scenes for AEW and maintained his job is a private matter. Jarrett made his shocking AEW debut last November, and owner Tony Khan announced shortly after that the two-time Hall of Famer would also serve as the company's Director of Business Development. What that is, however, is still somewhat unclear, saying, quote, AEW is a privately held company, and what I do is develop business, Jarrett told Catch News. And I think when the world needs to know something we've developed, we'll let it out. But respectfully and candidly, but diplomatically, we'll tell you when we're ready to tell you. Now, last year, Khan celebrated Jarrett's arrival and told Sports Illustrated that the Impact Wrestling and Global Force founder had such an extensive experience as a third-generation businessman in pro wrestling, referencing his late father, Jerry Jarrett, and his grandfather, Eddie Marlin, both of whom were famous wrestling promoters, and, of course, his grandmother as well. She's got tremendous experience in a number of fields, including live event promotions and international distribution. Khan said his insight and knowledge is very valuable, and I'm excited to have Jeff join our team. It's a really odd story, this, because at the same time, it's been, isn't it, like put out there and widely reported that he's involved in the AEW house show rollout. He's spoken about that too. So I don't really get this story, but there you go. It's very bizarre. So there you go, guys. It's the latest AEW news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. Remember, you can join the WN365 roster by clicking that join button. Let me know your thoughts on today's AEW news stories in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.